Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining me today because we are doing something a little different. We're taking this really unique kind of dual lens approach to our topic. We're actually going to bridge two worlds that at first glance might seem totally unrelated: historical, physical buildings, and our very own biological systems. It sounds crazy, right? But by looking at how we describe physical structures and historical events, we're going to unlock the grammar and vocabulary you need to easily understand some pretty complex medical conditions. It's a fantastic way to learn, and I promise you, by the end of this, you're going to see the human body in a completely new light.
Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We'll start with grammar in historical context, then move into vocabulary and observation skills. After that, we'll shift gears into medical English, focusing first on hypertension and then, finally, diabetes.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Grammar in Historical Context, Anchoring the Past to the Present.
Take a look at this incredible view. We've got the Statue of Liberty and the surrounding area of Ellis Island in New York City. Now, this represents a place of massive historical significance. It served as this grand gateway where, at its absolute peak, thousands of immigrants were processed every single day. Today it stands as a monument and a park that still sees thousands of visitors. And we're actually going to use the physical infrastructure you see right here to ground ourselves in a real-world reading exercise.
So, when we talk about the history of physical places like this, we need the right grammatical tools to convey time, right? Take the past simple tense. Hurricane Sandy destroyed the infrastructure. We use the past simple here because that storm was an isolated, totally closed event in the past. It happened, it ended, boom, past simple. But compare that to the present perfect tense. Ellis Island has recently reopened. Why the change in tense? Well, because the action of reopening happened in the recent past, sure, but its effect, the fact that the doors are literally open to visitors right now, is directly connected to our current, present moment.
Moving right along, let's jump into Section 2, Vocabulary and Observation Skills, Active Viewing.
You know, to really extract meaning from historical texts or even complex medical data, we love to use the See, Think, Wonder framework. The idea is, before you just passively read a chart or a textbook, you actively engage with it. Ask yourself, what do you physically see with your own eyes? What does that make you think about what's actually happening? And finally, what does it make you wonder or question? I really challenge you to apply this powerful framework not just to the history stuff we just covered, but to the medical information we're about to unpack.
Let's lock in some critical vocabulary from our Ellis Island context that's going to serve as a bridge for us. We've got process, which means dealing with something using an official procedure. We have moving, meaning producing strong emotion, like seeing families reunite, and faith, a strong belief in someone. But I want to draw your attention heavily to those first two words: infrastructure, the communication systems and facilities that support an area, and renovation, the process of repairing and improving a structure. Keep the concepts of infrastructure and renovation right at the front of your mind as we prepare to shift our focus inward.
And that brings us perfectly to Section 3, Medical English, Hypertension, or as we're calling it, the internal infrastructure.
Okay, let's apply those See, Think, Wonder skills right here. We see a healthcare worker checking a patient's blood pressure, right? And notice those escalating red bars leading up to a distressed heart symbol. The readings are high. Now think about this. Just as a city totally relies on its physical infrastructure of roads and pipes, the human body has its own internal cardiovascular infrastructure. And just like a severe storm can wreck a city's systems, too much physical pressure can severely damage our internal pipes, our arteries.
Which brings us to a really critical definition: hypertension, commonly known as high blood pressure. In medical English, it's often referred to by this pretty scary nickname, the silent killer. And it's a fascinating but dangerous condition because it typically presents zero obvious symptoms. Think about it. Unlike a fever that makes you feel physically hot or a heavy chest cough that you can audibly hear, high blood pressure can damage your body's infrastructure for years, literally years, without you ever once feeling sick.
Let's break down exactly why it earns that ominous silent killer title. First off, there's just a total lack of warning signs. Most patients don't feel dizzy, they don't get special headaches. Honestly, they feel completely normal. Second, there's the hidden internal damage. While the patient feels totally fine going about their day, that elevated pressure is constantly overstretching and weakening the walls of their arteries. And third, and this is the tragic part, for many people, the very first symptom they ever experience isn't some mild warning sign. It's a major medical crisis, like a heart attack or a stroke. The internal infrastructure just simply gives out. So if we can't feel it, how on earth do we protect our internal infrastructure? Well, the answer is regular monitoring. This allows for early detection, catching those elevated levels way before they become severe. And catching it early lets patients make what we're going to call lifestyle renovations, changing their diet and getting exercise, before medication is even required. It's also absolutely vital for preventing organ damage. We're talking about protecting not just the heart, but the kidneys, your vision, and your brain from that relentless high pressure. And finally, if a patient is on medication, tracking just ensures the treatment is actually doing its job.
All right, let's move into our final section today. Section 4, Medical English, Diabetes System Failures.
Let's use our see, think, and wonder framework one more time. Here, we observe a patient testing their blood with a monitor showing a distressed heart right alongside an image of healthy food portions. This is the daily reality of monitoring blood glucose levels for millions of people. And this relates directly to diabetes, which is a condition fundamentally about how the body handles its primary fuel supply, sugar.
To really grasp this condition, we're going to rely on some powerful visual analogies to tell apart its two main forms. On the left, we have type 1 diabetes. This is a supply problem. The body's factory, the pancreas, is attacked and makes zero insulin. The analogy? It is exactly like a car with no gas in the tank. You literally have to manually add fuel every single day. Now, on the right, type 2 diabetes is a response problem. The body is still making insulin, but the cells just don't respond properly to it, a state we call insulin resistance. The analogy here is brilliant. It's like having the exact right key in your hand, but trying to open a lock that is completely rusted shut.
So, when the lock is rusty or the tank is totally empty, structural renovations to a patient's lifestyle are highly recommended. Dietary adjustments involve monitoring carbohydrate intake and choosing whole grains to prevent massive sugar spikes. Physical activity is crucial here. Regular exercise actually helps the body become way more sensitive to insulin. It effectively oils that rusty lock we just talked about. Routine monitoring becomes a daily requirement, checking those glucose levels to stay safe. And finally, weight management, especially in type 2, can massively improve how the body utilizes the insulin it's already producing.
Wow, we have covered so much ground today. We looked at how to actively analyze text, we connected historical grammar rules like the past simple to our present reality, and we used vocabulary like infrastructure and renovation to really understand hypertension and diabetes. But you know, the human body has so many other complex systems that need our attention. We can use that exact same infrastructure vocabulary to understand other medical conditions too. We can look at asthma as blocked ventilation shafts, infections as foreign invaders actively breaching our walls, or a stroke as a sudden catastrophic power outage in the command center. It all connects. So based on how our body's internal systems interact with the outside environment, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. When the body's internal security system completely overreacts to something totally harmless, what precautions do people with severe allergies actually need to take? Think about that. Try to apply the terminology you've learned today. And I cannot wait to explore even more fascinating systems